Is it a concern in the New York area for people perhaps who are not in a position to continue paying their rent or have not been?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly a challenge. The moratorium ends in New York at the end of August. And look, the courts are really packed, so I think it will take a lot of time for those evictions to work through. And, there's $45 billion of federal aid, rental assistance, and only $3 billion has gotten to these people who most need it. And so I would just encourage state and local agencies to really try to work quickly and get people the money that they need so that families don't get put out on the street. I think that would be terrible in this environment, especially with Delta, the variant, as you guys just talked about, ticking up. We don't want people to get sick, especially people who have children. So I would just say that I would encourage these state and local agencies to really try to get the money to the people so that they can have some relief and stay in their homes.
All right, Bess, let's go back a little bit now, maybe a year or so. There were so many people, that chorus of New York is dead. Of course, New York was never dead. It was never going to be. But, I'm curious about your thoughts in terms of the real estate market, which you could have argued might not be coming back to life anytime soon. Where are we a year later in terms of rentals and in terms of sales in New York City when it comes to real estate?
Great question, David. Listen, the market, we just had closed our second quarter and it was historic. I would have never thought that we'd be in this place today. People are coming back to the city. The city is not dead. People have said that the city is not safe to walk around. I walk New York City every single day. It is a very safe city historically. Crime did tick up during the pandemic. We know that, but that's expected. When people are desperate and they're struggling economically, they do things that are not in their best judgment. But the city is back. Even rentals, which a year ago, the vacancy rate was something like 30%. Now, people are standing in line to rent apartments. They're coming back to the city. I have so many stories of people. I had an agent who had a listing. He just put it on last week. He had 35 people. And that's not hyperbole. Those are 35 people that were interested in that apartment. So people are back. The city is back. Our biggest threat is people not getting vaccinated. I would just encourage everybody to please get vaccinated. If you care about teachers, if you care about nurses, get vaccinated. It's the most patriotic thing that you can do for your country.
Bess, you cite in one of your quarterly reports this study from the Partnership for New York City about return to work. 62% they found of Manhattan's 1 million office workers back by September. 62. Is that high enough?
I mean, that's a good start. I'm requiring everybody to come back to work in September. And I think it's a good place. I mean, people were saying that it was going to go down something like 90%. So I'll take 62%. And I think slowly that's going to move up because people want to come back to the office. People want to be together. As I always say, you cannot build a culture from home doing Zooms. You need to be together. And I think it's going to be required of companies that really care about their workers and for their well-being. We need to be with each other. That's how we work best together.
Bess, what we saw during the pandemic was a rush to the suburbs, and I'm wondering where we stand. And if somebody were thinking about investing $2 million in either New York City or in an outlying suburb, and I know you've got offices in places like Connecticut, what would be the better return on your investment on that $2 million right now?
Melissa, listen, every place is different and facts and circumstances depend on the individual. Real estate is very local. In certain parts of the city, like the Upper East Side, you can still negotiate and get a very good deal. And there's certain parts of the suburbs. New York actually has ample supply. There's a bottleneck of supply throughout the country, but New York is still a buyer's market, although it's starting to switch a little bit. So I would say New York City is a great place to invest right now. The suburbs, there's actually not a lot to buy because the demand is so high and prices have ticked up. So I would say New York City, certain parts of the city, Brooklyn, there are great places to invest right now.
No, I wonder, though, Bess, because certainly a cohort that I know well seems to be leaving still, whether it's quality of life to some extent, not really public safety as much, but just overall and or really importantly, income taxes. They're making a choice to perhaps not be in New York as often at the very least. So who are these people who are lining up to rent these apartments or buy these apartments?
There's a variety. There are companies that are requiring people to come back to work. Who have to be here for September. There's a lot of students that are coming back. And look, New York City, people did leave the city and go to the suburbs or go to lower tax states like Florida. But we have a new leadership coming in. We have a new mayor coming in. There's a new candidate who is an inclusionary leader who's going to work with all the communities and work with the city council and try to create a more positive political narrative that keeps businesses and people here, companies here. So, yes, I think things are shifting a little bit, David. I think you're seeing a lot of optimism. It's abound in New York City. And I think people are going to want to be here. I mean, Broadway's going to open up soon. There's no place like New York City, David. You and I both know that.